First guest of the week joins us on the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team at Mississippi Farm Bureau. Defensive lineman Kevin Sluder from Mississippi State played on the 96, 97, 98, and 99 teams for the Bulldogs, which means his Egg Bowl record was 3-1. So, Kevin, we really appreciate you joining and really would like to spend a lot of time talking about the 1997 game, if that's good for you. I think that's where we'd like to focus today.
Yeah, so we were 3-1. We're actually an inch away from my hand from being 4-0. So I still remember very vividly the 2-point conversion. It flew right by my hand when we would have finished 4-0. But hey, Well,
I guess it just makes you a bum, Kevin. I mean, you could have been a hero forever, and yet here we are.
That's right. Could have went back to back, taking care of the Rebels back to back, but in years. But hey, they made a great play and they converted the 2-point conversion, and life moves on.
Hey, let's walk through.
Speaking of great, no, you're done. Speaking of great plays, Richard.
Yeah.
Speaking of great plays, Kevin, you had one of my favorite ones in Egg Bowl history. You may be the last defensive lineman to have scored in an Egg Bowl when you took that touchdown back in 1996, that long run. Just sort of take us through that play and, how close to dying were you when you got to the end zone?
I'll tell you the truth, the close to dying was the part, it had been raining all day, and so there was a puddle there when the guys jumped on me. I'm face first down into the puddle. So, yeah, the dying part wasn't the running. It was the after effect, the celebration with everybody on top of me. So, but no, it was a great play. Our defense really showed up that day. Joe Lee, came out that day, last game of the year, and obviously with the record, we knew we couldn't go on to postseason play. So that afternoon, he decided to play some young players, and I was one of those guys. And Greg Favors, Eric Brown, those guys had a field day, and just right place, right time, picked it up, and the rest is history. So.
And then one of the best Egg Bowl spite moments of all times is Coach Sherrill going for 2 with 30 seconds left in the game, up 15-0, and asked after the game, well, that's what the chart said to do. He had to have a chuckle in the locker room after that.
That's right. These days they'd say the analytics, right? Back then we had charts, so we didn't have the actual true analytics. So yeah, I guess so. Under a minute, hey, you never know what could happen in a minute. They could have scored twice. So I agree going with 2, especially in that game. You got to get all the points you can get in the Egg Bowl.
Kevin, I read somewhere that that's the only touchdown that you scored in your entire football career. Is that accurate?
I scored 1 or 2 in high school, but fairly accurate. The kicker is 98 or 99? There was a ball laying there against Oklahoma State, and I go to pick it up, and I just stumble. I saw green field in front of me, and just crashed out there. So,
hey, was the field in 96 the sloppiest conditions you played in while you were at Mississippi State, or was there another game that was sloppier than that?
I'm going to say 96 Egg Bowl was pretty sloppy, and then I believe it's 97 down in Baton Rouge was pretty nasty too. They had just a good old Southern rain down there in Death Valley, and that field was pretty gnarly that day too. And of course, the likes of Kevin Falk and Cecil the Diesel Collins, he had a pretty good day against us.
So, Kevin, let's go to the 98 Egg Bowl. Of course, everybody remembers winning that game and going on to the SEC championship. But that game was so special for Mississippi State with J.J. Johnson coming off the bench and not playing at 100%. What was he had to have had some sort of message before the game saying, if he's playing at that level, what can you guys do?
Right. That's the thing. Just that whole day was special. Actually, you go back to the week before against Arkansas, the way we won that game, and then turn around back on Thanksgiving night, and just from the time that we left Grenada there and then pulled into Vaught Hemingway and the fans being there just waiting on us, and you could tell just the excitement was built up and just really a pent up demand for those fans to try to do something, and then JJ just laying it all on the line, and that was the type of player JJ was. He put his team first, and he didn't really put his body second that night, but he knew how special that game was, and obviously to the whole state. And the crazy thing is, 25 years later, I never would have dreamt it would have been the night we clinched the West. But here we are, and I guess we'll go down as with the way the new SEC is going to be. I guess we'll go down as the only team to win the West.
You certainly will. Kevin Sluder, former defensive lineman at Mississippi State, joining us, talking about some Egg Bowl memories. So, 99, that's your senior night. And to have that game unfold the way that it did in your last home game in Starkville, did that just kind of give you the exclamation mark at the end that, hey, this was a really cool way to finish it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we had, the two games before that we're 8-0 going into Tuscaloosa, and then, things didn't go our way. And then the very next week we play a very tough road game up in Little Rock. And again, we were a better team, and things just didn't go our way that night. And here we are, on a 2-game losing streak, and, things looked pretty bleak there late in the fourth quarter. But, one thing about Coach Sherrill and Joe Lee, they told us, hey, keep playing, play these things out. There's going to be tough moments. There's going to be certain plays in the game, that are going to change it. And, here we are. That play that night, that was special. And just to end it with the kick the way it was, to be my last game, on Scott Field, it couldn't have ended a better way, especially in the Egg Bowl.
I talked to Dan Mullen earlier today, Kevin, and I think something he had in common and Coach Sherrill had in common and they are the most successful MSU coaches of the modern era, is they put such a great emphasis on this game. I think it's important to do that. What was Coach Sherrill's message every year around this time?
Yeah, me being a guy who was not from Mississippi, being from Pensacola, Florida, I got my first experience the first year, 95, when I redshirted, and you really see how much it means to the people in state. Just, a lot of those guys growing up against each other, playing against each other, and then it's big for recruiting, to try to keep the guys in state, and that's where Coach Sherrill had a lot of success. He was able to keep the guys in state. It didn't let him get away to the Auburn, to the Alabama, to the LSU. He was able to go get the big dogs and keep them in state. And, I think that's the key to winning at both Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I think if you can put a fence around the state of Mississippi, carve out your areas around Memphis, into Alabama, Little Rock, those kind of things, there's where you can have success. And that was one thing, they did. But just, to see the passion, here I am in the panhandle of Florida. I got Florida State. And I tell people all the time, it does not, there's nowhere near the passion there is in the Egg Bowl for the whole state. And just to see the two fan bases come out and let's just face it, they hate each other, for one solid night, or solid week. They hate each other, and it's good and passion, and yeah, we need that in college football. I love rivalry week, from all over, and I know each state will probably toot theirs as the best, but man, there's no better passion than in Mississippi this week.
Kevin, you mentioned 25 years since you guys won it. You were back on campus with your teammates not too terribly long ago for that 25th anniversary celebration. How cool was that to walk back onto the field and the way you guys were kind of welcomed back and cheered? Because, it looked like it was just electric pregame for that ceremony.
Yes, it was. The athletic director and the whole staff who put that together, Coach Sherrill sent out something, hey, we're going to have a little reunion, and we're thinking, okay, they'll do something or whatever. Maybe we'll walk out in the middle of the field. But, they told us, they said, hey, we're going to take you to a secure area. Family and kids need to go up to the stands and wait on you, but it's going to be worth it. So they kind of kept it as a surprise. And then we go down to the tunnel there, and just to really walk out there and see, the fans embrace and the crowd. At the time you could hear the Cowboys. I never knew there was music playing until I went back and saw a video, of the music playing. So it was just that loud in there, and just, I think it shows there's a lot of people who came up to us pregame at the tent, telling us memories about that team. And, for us guys getting together, 25 years later, it was a great weekend. And I thought they did a really good job. And, a lot of us old teammates were trying to keep in touch more and trying to do reunions on our own, where we can all, relive those moments. Because, one thing about that group, those years that group was a special group just because of how tight we were. And it didn't matter if it was a player, a coach, a trainer, a manager, the police officer who escorted us, the bus driver. We were just one big family with a common goal, who got along and just did things. And it's one of the most special group I've ever been around. I volunteer coach at high school now, and we're in the third round of the playoffs, and I still tell memories of that. I say, hey, if you can come together, you can do really, really special things. And it's not just players; it's the staff, the support, the coaches, everything that goes involved with it. And that's what that group had in the '90s, late '90s.
Kevin, good luck with the high school playoffs. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us this afternoon, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
You as well. Appreciate the time, Hell State, and go to hell, Ole Miss.
Kevin Sluder, former Mississippi State defensive